Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. This evening, we continue with Anime Marvel Phase 3 Part 2 of the Fallout Saga, Defenders Road to Shibuya, with another installment with Tekken Born Again, What If Jin Kazama Was Daredevil, Season 1, Part 1. To keep it brief, we are going to be starting after the events of Tekken 3, and we're going to be going forward from there. Now, if you aren't familiar, Tekken is a fighting-based video game that came out around 1997 to 99, I believe, and has been one of the staples in the fighting franchise games, along with other series such as Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Now, as far as how long this series is going to be, I'm not entirely sure. While I will be borrowing elements from the video game, from tie-in comics and things of that nature, it's not going to be a straight-up one-for-one retelling, and I'm going to try to keep the story as relatively as simple as possible. Also, some people might be wondering, will I include Akuma and other Street Fighter characters? Akuma, I'll just be honest, there's a 50-50 chance he might be in this series or he might not. Only time will tell. As for Street Fighter, I don't know if I'm going to be using any Street Fighter in this universe or in general. So that's something that we'll just have to play with by ear. But I am looking forward to this series and I do hope you'll enjoy it as well. So without further ado, let's get into this evening's video. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. He had finally won. After years of training under his grandfather Heihachi Mishima, all of his trials and tribulations had finally brought him to this moment. He stood over the creature, the warrior god known as Ogre. For Jin Kazama, he had avenged the death of his mother. And finally, he felt like his soul could find peace. As he turned to his grandfather, he bowed in respect, thanking the man for taking him in, for training him and showing him the way. However, the gratitude that was across the face of Heihachi Mishima would quickly turn to a face of contempt. His soldiers, known as the Tekken Force, would shoot and gunned down Jin. The suddenness of it all, it overtook him as his body would be riddled with bullets, as he found himself falling on the ground of the temple. Struggling for breath, clinging to life, he looked up to the man whom he had confided in. But all he could see was cold and callousness, the look of someone who truly did not care. He always knew that his grandfather Heihachi was a rather ambitious man, a businessman, a man who ran his company, the Mishima Zaibatsu, with an iron fist. He knew that he was a man that was calculated, but he always thought that there was some form of honor, of loyalty, of dignity, and yet to have been treated in such a way. As he reached out his hand, he watched as his grandfather raised his pistol and delivered what would have been the killing blow directly to his skull. He laid on the ground motionless. This was the end of Jin Kazama. Or at least that's what Heihachi thought. Whether you call it luck, a miracle, an act of God, or perhaps even divine karma, his body would stir, black markings appearing across his body, horns protruding from his forehead and black wings that spread from his back, his hands turning into talon-like claws, his eyes turning into a feral crimson red. The devil gene had awakened within him, and Devil Jin had rise once more. For Heihachi, he had seen this phenomena with his own son, now sworn enemy. And now with his grandson, the Devil Jin had also awakened once again. This power, a power that came from his late wife, that now seemed to curse the Mishima bloodline. Jin would make short work of the Tekken force as he turned ready to destroy Heihachi. Despite his efforts, he did not have the strength to overcome Jin. As Jin was preparing to deal the final blow, a voice called out to him. The voice of his mother. The one thing that could quell the storm that was his heart. A voice that reminded him of the man that he was. He was not his father or his treacherous grandfather. He was a boy that was raised with a good heart, a kind soul. If only for her sake, Jin spared his grandfather's life. Heihachi was confused as Jin flew into the sky, looking back to the old man. Don't thank me. Thank my mother. Because of her, she is the only reason why you are still alive. And if you're smart, don't even think about trying to find me. Or next time I see you, I will kill you. And with that, Jin would fly into the night. Where he was going, he didn't know. For Heihachi, he knew now that another enemy was out there in the world. Another foe to be vanquished. Jin didn't know how long he flew for, until finally he crashed into a forest, his body turning back to normal, still weakened and injured. He continued to trudge along. He knew he had to keep moving, but to where he did not know. But finally he found a river where he collapsed. He attempted to drink some water to regain his strength, but it was not enough. He laid there, preparing to be resigned to his fate. Not too far off, there were those who seemed to be of a monkly heritage. Dressed in red robes, they found him and carried him back to a private monastery. They stood before the leader, the one who guided them. Master Murdoch! Master Murdoch! Yes, I'm here. What is the problem? We found this young man near the river to the southeast. He is gravely wounded. What should we do with him? Take him to the infirmary and tell me everything that has happened. Jin would have his wounds tended to, but he did not awaken. For 8 days and 8 nights, he stirred only a little. He gained his consciousness enough to eat a liquid diet of soup and little bread and water. But he was sustained. He did not fully gain his consciousness until the 9th morning, as the nurses of the temple had finally healed him back to a stable condition. Rest yourself, child. You mustn't move too much. It will take some time for you to regain your strength. Why does everything hurt? You don't remember? You came here riddled with bullets. It was a process to remove them all from you. And even then, you lost a lot of blood. where all will be revealed in time. But please, rest. For Jin, he had no other choice. He was in no position to move or do anything on his own. For now, the only thing he could do was recover. He spent another week bedridden, but his power was coming to him. He was on crutches, but he could manage. He was led down a great hallway. He saw others, some training, some meditating, cooking and cleaning. He saw that there were those who appeared to be dressed like ninjas. Some were leaving, some were coming and going. He had no idea what this place was or how he had gotten here. There were 2 guards that stood at the doorway and opened it. And inside was a man, dressed in a robe of orange and red. Underneath, he wore what appeared to be a shirt with the initials of D&D engraved on them. He was an older man with a beard as white as snow and hair that matched. He wore glasses and carried by his side a cane. Perhaps he was frail, blind maybe. I see that the guest of honor has finally awakened. You can leave us be now. Master Murdoch, are you? It's all right. I don't sense anything negative with our friend here. But the marking, sir. He has the mark of the devil. Are we not all marked by the devil himself? We all bear some marking of evil, but that does not make us evil. It'll be all right, I promise. The attendants and the guards would leave them, the room empty and silent, as Jin tried to make sense of it all. There's no need to be on edge, son. I mean you no harm. American. I am. And yet you know Japanese. I do. What is this place? A temple. A temple. A temple with guards dressed like ninjas. Well, we don't go seeking violence. We seek peace in the world. But I feel like I should be the one asking questions. Who are you? Where did you come from? And how did you manage to get all the way out here? And before you try lying, Jin, how do you know my name? I may be blind, but I have eyes and ears everywhere in the world. I know a lot about you. So you could say that this isn't so much me just asking questions. I want to know the truth. That is, after all, the most important thing. If you know so much about me, then what's left to say? Well, for one, why was your body riddled with almost 100 bullets? And how was someone like you able to survive? And again, how did you manage to get to my monastery all the way out here? I mean, you couldn't have got here by foot. That's impossible, especially in your condition. Would you believe me if I told you I sprouted wings and horns? Like a real devil, huh? You could say that. Well, There are things in this world that can't be explained, but I'm always been a man of faith. Jin would tell the old man everything. His story, the death of his mother, the training under his grandfather, his betrayal. I see. So it was you and your grandfather who awakened that evil at that temple. The evil? Ogre. The spirit of a dying warrior god. We had tried to keep it sealed for as long as we could. I always figured there was something behind the King of the Iron Fist tournament. I never would have suspected that it was all just a front to awaken Ogre. And you managed to do it successfully. How do you, Jin would ask, how do you even know about... We know a lot of things, Jin. Enough with the vague answers. Who the hell are you? What is all of this? Well, I trust you enough. I think you're someone who can keep a secret. We're an organization. Another organization. Jin rolled his eyes. Let me guess. You hide in the shadows. You have some secret objective. Everyone's got a secret these days. Do we hide in the shadows? Yes. But our objective? There's no secret. There was a time when this organization served a much more darker purpose. But when I took over, I changed. I changed everything here. And I've changed this organization into something else. We are known as the Hand. But we are not Hand that commits evil. We are the Hand that protects. The Hand that guards the innocent. The Hand that seeks justice. The Hand that exposes the darkness to the light. We are the ones who search for the truth, hidden in a world of lies. We are the ones born from the Shadowlands. You're the Hand. My grandfather spoke of that organization. He said that you guys were destroyed by one man, called you weak, pathetic. They were destroyed, but they were reborn. And I take it you're the man that did it. In a different time, I was. So why the humble attitude? If you're all-knowing, all-powerful, and yet I take it you don't get out often. Well, my body has seen a lot of wars, son. I've fought in many a battle, and it's safe to say that eventually time is undefeated. But I train those who are like-minded like me. So you're a secret organization of ninja-like heroes, or something along those lines. And based off of the information you had, you have been watching my grandfather's organization for a while now. The Mishima Saibatsu, yes. Your grandfather has made a lot of leeway in this country, especially with the Prime Minister of Japan. A lot of defense contracts have been given to your company, your grandfather's company. That can't be by chance. With all of that power, there has to be another motive, another angle. Yeah, we fought to awaken Ogre, and then we killed him. What else could there be besides that? I believe it's you. This wasn't just for Ogre. After everything you've told me, I believe he had your death in mind from the very start. My death? Yes. There's a power inside of you, Jin. A power that he fears. He wanted to kill you before you could awaken that power. He knows that you could become something far greater than him. He wishes to snuff the flame before it can become a raging inferno. So he has it out for me. So what? He's not the first, and he won't be the last. There's no need to push yourself, Jin. No. I'm thankful for the support, really. But I gotta get back. Back to where? Tokyo? Do you even know where you're going? I'll figure it out. Really? And what will you do when you get there? You've got no money, no resources, no allies, nothing. I'll manage. I don't think I'll manage is much of a plan. It's what's got me this far. And is that really how you want to go through life? Just getting that far? It'll work. It won't work. You have a better idea? I know that running through life with vengeance and hate, that won't be enough. You don't know how much hate is inside of me. I do. I can feel it. Your heart is quelling with rage and anger. And right now, you think that that's all it's going to take for you to accomplish your goals. You think that on hate and anger alone, you can overcome anything that this world has to throw at you. I used to think that way. I used to think that my hate was limitless. And I used to think that with my level of fury, that there wasn't anyone in this world that could stop me. Maybe you just didn't have enough of it. No, I had more than enough. But in the end, it didn't matter. It doesn't matter how much hatred you harbor, Jin. In the end, there will always be someone that has just a little more than you. There will always be someone that has just a little more of a chip on their shoulder, just a little more grudge. And if they don't have either of those things, they simply have the resources to outlast you. Fury, anger, hate, it's like a nova. It burns bright. It burns furiously, but it burns only for a moment. It flickers away, and soon enough, there's nothing left. I can't hold you here. You're free to do as you wish. But if you leave the way you are now, assuming you make it back, you will have nothing. They'll see you coming from a mile away, and you will be promptly destroyed. And why would you want to help me? Jin would ask. With all due respect, I'm just supposed to believe that some wannabe monk living in the middle of God knows where wants to help me out of the kindness of his heart. That you're just doing all of this for the greater good. As a matter of fact, I am. There are still people in the world that want to do the right thing, Jin. You're not alone in that fight. You do have allies. It's about knowing when to put your pride to the side and knowing when to reach out a hand. The old man would extend his to Jin. In this world of darkness, everyone needs a guiding light. Trust me, you have nothing to fear. For Jin, he felt that calming spirit wash over him once more. The same spirit that he felt when he was with his mother. Almost as if she were encouraging him to move forward in this moment. As if she were pushing him to take that next step. Slowly, Jin would extend his hand as well. And as the two shook, a bond would be formed. A bond of master and student that would become unbreakable. For the next 2 years, Jin Kazama would train under Matt Murdock. In the meantime, Heihachi Mishima would focus his attentions now on his one remaining target, that being his son, Kazama Mishima. He had now aligned himself with the G Corporation, and now the two founding organizations, the Mishima Zaibatsu and the G Corporation, two titans of industry, were seemingly gearing for a war. When it came to Japan, they had now entered into a new technological front. After the fall of many world powers, there was a new arms race, you might say. The world was beginning to fill with promising individuals, strange and extraordinary foes from all across. And as such, countries had to protect themselves in any way that they could. And you could say that the Mishima Zaibatsu was the leading frontiersman when it came to that protection of the motherlands. And the G Corporation, they wanted to step in on that turf. Experimentation, illegal weapons testing, you know the works. At this point, there was an ever-growing fear that with these two corporations, the things that they were getting involved in, it could soon lead to a much more devastating outcome. You see, when you get into an arms race, you're ultimately trying to collect power. And when you collect power by any means necessary, what power won't you try to find? What ancient power won't you try to call on? What science or technology won't you dwell in? This was the reality that the people were now starting to live in fear of. And this was the threat that the hand were now given. And for Matt Murdock, he knew that a war between the G Corporation and the Mishima Zaibatsu, it would lead not only to the end of Japan, but the world as they knew it. The time had come for his protege to step from the shadows and into the light. He had been training for 2 years, 2 grueling years. And now his training was complete. It's time, Jin. It's time for you to return. Why now? Your father and your grandfather, it seems they've begun to make their moves. They're starting to take things way too far. What now? 3 years ago, they tried to call forth the power of Ogre. You managed to stop it. But I'm afraid that was just the beginning. Your grandfather and the Mishima Zaibatsu, they've only continued to grow in their search for power. And your father has only followed suit. Between the two of them, they won't stop until they've destroyed the other. And they don't care how many people they have to kill to make that happen. If this was just a quarrel between father and son, if it could just be left between them, we wouldn't have to get involved. But it could never be. Their fight, their rivalry, they'll engulf the entire world in their war if they have to. They'll drag everyone down with them. And that's something we can't allow to happen. The hand must intervene in this affair and stop them before this war escalates. Matt would turn to a kneeling Jin who awaited his commands. Arise, Jin Kazama. Do you accept this mission? I accept, Master. I was born for this. This concludes Tekken, Born Again. What if Jin Kazama was Daredevil? Season 1, Part 1. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that's to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned this evening as we will continue with What If Baki Was the Hulk, and stay tuned tomorrow as we continue with Tekken Born Again, What If Jin Kazama Was Daredevil, Season 1, Part 2. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.